don't know if you guys remember this, but during the PlayStation's documentary about the making of Last of Us Part 2 that they released around the same time that they released the Last of Us Part 2 remastered, they talked about how the original plan for Last of Us Part 2 was that it was going to be heavily Bloodborne inspired. Apparently Neil Druckmann played Bloodborne, he was super inspired by it and wanted to kind of make Last of Us Part 2 similar to that. Not in terms of it being like a Souls-like, but from a level design perspective. Seattle was going to kind of be set up like Yarnum, where there's shortcuts and it's this interconnected map, Metroidvania style, unlocking shortcuts and backtracking and stuff like that. That didn't end up working out for the story that they were trying to tell. There was no way to set Seattle up like that and then have the kind of narrative control that they wanted for that game. So it didn't really end up working. And then also, they wanted Last of Us Part 2 originally to be super melee focused and very little gunplay, mostly about dodging and using the knife. Those melee mechanics still did make their way into the game, but obviously you still did spend a lot of time shooting, and ultimately they made that decision because the gameplay was just too different from the first game and it just didn't make a lot of sense. They kind of scaled those ideas back and axed them for Last of Us Part 2, but I think that those ideas that they wanted to do are what this game is. I think that this game will be heavily Bloodborne inspired in terms of its level design, in terms of its combat, but not necessarily like a Souls-like in mechanics or difficulty. And I don't think it'll be exactly like Souls combat or anything, but I think the idea of like melee focus, she does have a gun here, she does have a blaster, so I do think there will still be shooting. I think there'll be a heavier emphasis on melee, and I think the level design will be a lot more like Metroidvania, interconnected world.